I'm curious, do you believe that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited planet Earth?
I think you can go a step further. It hasn't just visited, it's been here a long time, and it's still here. And it has basically, people talk about the wow signal, looking for extraterrestrial intelligence. The wow signal is that people see it on an almost regular basis.
If you had to assign a probability to that statement, that you believe extraterrestrial intelligence has visited this planet, what probability would you assign?
100%. And that's not just my opinion. I mean, look, the National Defense Appropriation Act, passed last year, signed by Biden in December. 30 pages of that is the establishment of an unidentified aerial phenomenon office, the establishment of looking into the harm that's happened to any of a number of the individuals, going back to 1945 and looking at the disinformation and misinformation that has been basically articulated over the decades. 12 US senators have signed on to a document that basically says we want the information. The establishment of an office, ARROW, in the Department of Defense, has 25 people working in it right now, and provision of that then to Congress, the creation of a whistleblowers program specifically that allows people from within, who I'm going to say this, who've been working on the reverse engineering programs, reverse engineering of objects, so that they can come in and break their oaths, but it's specifically just to talk to Congress and give that information in classified settings. And that the most recent one that happened was just last weekend, and it created quite a hornet's nest in Washington.
Intel officer for the U.S. for 14 years. My last position, which I left in April of 2023, I co-led the UAP portfolio for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and some of the highest officials within the Department of Defense and intelligence community used to call on me to advise them on some of the hardest target sets that the country had.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You had the security classifications to go anywhere and ask anyone anything.
I had, based on my formal security clearance and multiple polygraphs, I had the ability to be read into any program that I needed. The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah. Plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true. By face, they denied me access to these programs.
Soon after, he says, he endured reprisals and retaliation from above. He then reported that information to the Intelligence Community Inspector General.
Well, we provided the proof internally to the Inspector General and the Hill staff, and we went into all the details.
The Inspector General made a determination about the credibility of your complaint.
They found, after interviewing myself and the subjects, and other subjects that I'm not even cognizant on who they were, they found my complaint urgent and credible.
An official investigatory body of the United States government has determined that your allegations are credible.
Correct.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical.
What you're revealing may mean we all start thinking of ourselves not as American, Australian, Russian, Chinese, but as human.
human family. I think that's totally the right term, yeah.
Official law now is that the government has mandated the Pentagon, the intelligence community, to research this and report back to Congress. We have 145 top secret facilities, some of which are black sites. The witnesses' testimony, who they were, when they were there, where the locations is, sometimes up to where the gate is. And that's been handed over to the United States government this week. There are 752 and counting whistleblowers who have come forward over the years. This has been provided to the intelligence community, as I mentioned, the Pentagon, Congress, and the White House. We can prove that this information, as Senator Inouye said, you'll hear his statement in a moment, has been run by a very shadowy, deep black operation, and we're not talking the legal black budget of the United States. We're talking about projects that presidents and CI directors and secretaries of defense and members of the Congress who have a need to know and are cleared TSSCI in SCIFs, secure compartmented information facilities, have been blatantly either gaslit, denied access. Electromagnetic field propulsion devices, based on the study of extraterrestrial vehicles that began in the 1940s. That is a fact, and we can prove it. He signed an 80-year non-disclosure agreement. He has been threatened, and some of these have seriously had their lives threatened. Because the bigger secret, I will tell you right now, is not the extraterrestrial issue. It's these technologies. These technologies would immediately solve the world's energy, environmental, and poverty problems. Done briefings for the Minister of Defenses of Australia, Canada, and Great Britain. None of them were read into these projects, and yet we had evidence they were ongoing.
Thank you all for being here. What I'm about to tell you hasn't been something that I've disclosed. It was something that was rotating, and it was transitioning between colors like a light matte gray. They had no insignias on, they had no ranks, they had nothing that would signify who they were. You are not allowed to tell anybody in your chain of command. I don't care if it's a general, I don't care if it's anybody. You are not allowed to talk about what happened. You can go to prison for this, or you could be killed.
We have the names of the other 5 people in the platoon. He said, hey man, this is asking too much, and it's not worth the risk. My family and military career far exceed anything you are asking of me. It's not worth my life. They have been used in simulated quote-unquote abductions.
I never felt anything like that before in my life, never anything since. Everything that my father had worked for, from the time that I was a child until I became a man, became a soldier, and the company that had my name on it, everything was seized. If good men do nothing, then evil men will prevail. I am damn tired of doing nothing.
It is effectively a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform that I will list rapidly a few things that it can do. I have already given all pertinent information and supporting documentation to the Senate Intelligence Committee and AARO. They informed me that all of my information will be recorded for public record and shared with Congress. It is that important.
My name is Derek Garcia. I'm a civil rights attorney. We wish to support the constitutional government in regaining full operational control over these secret, illegal, black budget, beyond black budget projects.
I think we have to begin to ask, what can we do as a civilian government where we don't try to militarize and weaponize everything we don't understand? Because here's the problem. If you're a hammer, the whole world's a nail. And so we have to get this disclosed properly so that our brighter scientists, our academics, our political leadership, and our diplomats and the citizens can take the lead on this issue rather than an illegal and clandestine operation that is a threat to national and world security.
Defense Research and Development Canada in possession of recovered UAP material.
He's a member of Parliament. His name is Larry Maguire. To their Secretary of Defense, it's real. It's significant. But the content is wow. As Minister of National Defense, You may not be aware, Defense Research and Development Canada, DRDC, has participated in efforts to analyze UAP, which is publicly traceable to circa 1950. I'm writing to recommend you request a classified briefing containing full, sensitive, and protected program information from your officials on the Government of Canada's historical and ongoing efforts on analyzing recovered UAP material.
It is essential the chief science advisor be given full access to defense programs and be briefed on the collaborative scientific research efforts with our allies. He then goes on to say, it is imperative the Government of Canada have a communications plan to respond to these upcoming public revelations that will stem from these American FMPs, which is foreign material programs. But there will be a larger debate about why there is a lack of transparency and accountability regarding UAP programs and policy.
Whoa. So he is suggesting that something is coming, upcoming public revelations regarding these American FMPs.
He says, I also believe there must be parliamentary oversight of efforts by government institutions, and responsible ministers should be fully briefed on this program.
I think he is dropping a big clue there that he knows this stuff is real, that he is aware of these memorandums, these agreements that have been made, that there is in writing something that spells out what the arrangement is between these countries on how this is to be investigated and handled. He's hinting that he's got them and that the Ministry of Defense had better acknowledge them and get ahead of it. All the way through this letter, he's really saying we need to get ahead of it because something is coming and we don't want to be caught flat-footed. We don't want to be caught supporting a lie. We need to get ahead of it with the Canadian people so that we can tell them the truth.
Present an opportunity for the Government of Canada to take a visible leadership role in confirming the existence of recovered material. It's like they uncovered a exploitation program and they're like, oh shit.
David Grush is the whistleblower you're talking about. The man has impeccable credentials, and many, many people with equally impeccable credentials have said he is who he is, and he's not making up stories about his access. He had the highest level access, and he was able to go ask people in special access programs what they're all about, and many of them spoke to him. Let's vet who he is, and then let's get investigating on the charges that he's made. And from what I understand, Rob, that's exactly what's going on in Congress. I mean, you just had a guest on, Representative James Comer, and he is behind one of the investigations that's going to go forward with Tim Burchett, probably one of the co-chairs of a committee that's going to look into this and potentially have public hearings. And I would just remind your viewers, I mean, think back to the Senate Watergate hearings back in '73, or even the Church Committee hearings in '75. Those were widely publicized, and they helped take issues that people weren't focused on and make them public.
The simple fact is that if you listen to and read Sue Goff's statement, she confined her answer to ARO, which is the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is the Pentagon office tasked to investigate UAPs. Her denial was not a denial on behalf of everybody in the Pentagon, some of whom are briefed into this program. It was a very specific denial on behalf of ARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the Pentagon's UAP investigation office. The people inside ARO who are doing the investigations have been neutered. They don't have what's called Title 50 access. And Title 50 access is what gives you the security classification you need to be able to access special access programs, particularly the waived, unacknowledged special access programs, the WUSAPs, that are almost certainly being used to conceal this incredible story. And so I think the Pentagon, whilst it was tasked by the Congress to properly investigate, and whilst there are good people in the Congress who are determined to get to the bottom of this story, sadly, there are people in the Pentagon who have essentially tasked the body to fail that's doing the investigation.
Just hours ago, we finally got Rubio on camera, and what he said, it is big news. Senator Rubio says Grush is not the only high-level government official to come forward with these kinds of claims. Others have come forward in secret to Congress.
We'll say there are people that have come forward to share information with our committee over the last couple of years. I want to be very protective of these people. A lot of these people came to us even before these protections were in the law for whistleblowers to come forward. I am trying to be protective of these people. Some of these people still work in the government, and frankly, a lot of them are very fearful of their jobs, fearful of their clearances, fearful of their career, and some, frankly, are fearful of harm coming to them.
So that category of people who have firsthand knowledge, who say they have actually seen these kinds of things, do you find many of them credible?
I will say I find most of these people at some point, or maybe even currently, have held very high clearances and high positions within our government. So you do ask yourself, like, what incentive would so many people with that kind of qualification, these are serious people, have to come forward and make something up?
Yeah, it's just remarkable that he is saying that other whistleblowers have come forward. And what you mentioned, I think, is what really makes this interesting, that these are people with first-hand accounts.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do.